I never thought I'd be the one to witness something like this, something that would change everything. But there I was, standing behind the mango tree, my heart pounding so hard I thought they would hear it. And what I saw, I wish I could unsee it. My name is Nkem. I live in a small, quiet village where everyone knows everyone. Life here is simple. We fetch water from the stream, we go to the markets, and in the evenings, we sit outside and share stories. But this one isn't like the others. My neighbor, Auntie Ijeoma, was a kind woman. The type everyone respected. She had a husband, Uncle Obinna. To the outside world, they looked like the perfect couple. But behind closed doors, it was a different story. The first time I noticed something was wrong was one evening when I went to borrow salt. Ijeoma's voice was shaky when she answered the door, and her eyes looked like she'd been crying. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but I didn't. In our culture, you don't poke your nose into other people's homes. But then the whispers started. People said they heard shouting at night. Some said Obinna had another woman in the next village. I didn't know what to believe until the day I saw it with my own eyes. It was a Sunday afternoon. The village was quiet because most people were still resting after church. I was picking mangoes when I heard voices, low, urgent voices coming from behind the house. I moved closer, careful not to make a sound. And then I saw them, Uncle Obinna and another woman, not Ijeoma. They were standing close, their heads bent together. Then, and I swear my heart nearly stopped, he kissed her, right there in the open, like he had no fear of being seen. I stepped back, my foot snapping a dry twig. Their heads whipped around. I didn't wait to see if they had seen me. I ran. When I got home, my hands were shaking. I knew I couldn't tell anyone what I had seen. But the question kept turning in my head. Should I tell Ijeoma? Should I stay out of it? I didn't know that the choice I made next would lead to something even worse. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Uncle Obinna and that woman. My mind kept racing. Should I tell Ijeoma? What if she already knew? What if she didn't? The next morning, I decided to stay quiet. It wasn't my business, I told myself, but the village has ears, and soon the whispers grew louder. Ijeoma started looking different. She was losing weight, and the light in her eyes was gone. One evening, as I was sweeping the compound, Ijeoma called me from her veranda. Nkem, come and sit with me, she said softly. I sat beside her, and for a long time, she didn't say anything. Then she asked, Have you heard people talking about Obinna? My throat went dry. I wanted to lie, but I couldn't. Yes, Auntie. She nodded slowly. Do you think it's true? I couldn't look at her. I don't know. But she knew I was hiding something. Nkem, tell me the truth, please. Her voice broke on that last word. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I saw him, I whispered, with another woman, behind the house. The silence that followed was heavy. Ijeoma didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at nothing. Thank you for telling me, she finally said. The days after that were strange. Ijeoma didn't confront Obinna, at least not in public. But the air in their house changed. You could feel the tension, even from outside. Then, one afternoon, the whole village heard the shouting. It was coming from their house. People gathered, but no one dared go inside. The screaming stopped suddenly. And then, a sound I will never forget. A loud crash. Moments later, Obinna stormed out of the house, his face dark with anger. Ijeoma didn't follow. When the crowd finally went inside, we found her on the floor, blood on her face. That was when I knew the worst was yet to come. The sight of Ijeoma lying there, blood on her face, sent a cold wave through the room. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, Mama Uch rushed forward, her voice shaking. Ijeoma! Ijeoma! Talk to us! Ijeoma opened her eyes slowly. I'm fine, she whispered, even though we could all see she wasn't. Fine, Ke, Mama Uche snapped. Who did this to you? But we all knew the answer. The village men went after Obinna, but he was gone. No one knew where. The women helped Ijeoma up, cleaning her wounds and trying to comfort her. But there was something in her eyes, a faraway look, that told me she was already breaking inside. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I kept asking myself, what if I had spoken sooner? What if I had told someone when I first saw them? Would things have been different? The next morning, Ijeoma's brother came from the next village. He was a tall, quiet man, but his face was hard with anger. I heard him talking with the elders, demanding they do something about Obinna. But in our village, matters between husband and wife were private. They said they would talk to him when he returned. But Obinna didn't return, not for days. And when he did, it was like nothing had happened. He walked through the village with his head high, greeting people like usual. The boldness of it made my stomach turn. One evening, I was walking back from the stream when I saw him again. With that same woman. This time, they weren't even hiding. They were laughing, their hands brushing as they walked. My anger boiled over. I ran straight to Ijeoma's house. Auntie, I saw them again, I blurted out. He's not even hiding it. But Ijeoma just shook her head, her voice tired. Let it be in Nkem. Please, I'm tired. Her words broke my heart. But I didn't know then that the storm was just beginning, because 2 days later, Ijeoma disappeared. The news spread fast. Ijeoma was gone. Some said she went to her brother's house. Others whispered that maybe she had run away. But something didn't feel right. I knew Ijeoma, she wouldn't just leave without telling anyone. For days, the village was tense. People avoided Obinna, and even the woman he'd been seen with stopped coming around. But Obinna acted like nothing was wrong. Whenever anyone asked about Ijeoma, he just said, she went to clear her head. She'll be back. But she didn't come back. One afternoon, I sat outside with Mama Uche, peeling cassava. Nkem, she said quietly, looking around to make sure no one was listening. Something is not right. I know, I whispered back. She lowered her voice even more. They said Ijeoma didn't reach her brother's house. He sent a messenger yesterday, asking about her. My heart dropped. Then where is she? Mama Uche's face grew tight with fear. That's what we need to find out. That evening, the village elders called a meeting. Obinna stood before them, his face calm. Ijeoma went to visit her people, he said, his voice steady. She needed time away. She will come back when she's ready. But Ijeoma's brother stood up, his face full of anger. She never came to my house. Where is my sister? The tension in the air was so thick you could feel it. But before the elders could decide what to do, a voice called out from the back of the crowd. She was seen near the old river. Everyone turned. It was one of the young boys who tended goats near the bush path. He looked scared but sure of what he was seeing. I saw her 2 nights ago with Uncle Obinna. They were arguing. My blood ran cold. The elders decided they would search the area the next day. But I couldn't wait. That night, when the village was quiet, I slipped out of my house and made my way toward the old river. The air was heavy, and every sound made me jump. But I kept going until I saw something near the water's edge, a piece of cloth, Ijeoma's wrapper. My heart was pounding as I reached for it, and that's when I heard footsteps behind me. Nkem, what are you doing here? It was Obinna, and the look in his eyes. It was the first time I was truly afraid. Obinna's voice was calm, but there was something in the way I stood, too still, too watchful. My heart slammed against my chest. I tried to speak, but my throat felt dry. I I was just. My eyes darted to the wrapper in my hands, Ijeoma's wrapper, and I knew I'd made a mistake coming here alone. He took a slow step toward me. That doesn't belong to you and Kem. His voice was soft, but there was danger underneath. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Where's Ijeoma? I whispered. He smiled, a cold, empty smile. You ask too many questions, little girl. Then he lunged. I turned and ran. My feet pounded against the dirt path, branches slapping against my face. I didn't dare look back. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps heavy and fast. Nkem! He shouted. Come back here! But I didn't stop. I ran until I burst into the village square, breathless and shaking. People were still gathered around the elders' huts, and when they saw me, they rushed forward. He tried. I couldn't even get the words out. But then Obinna appeared behind me, his face twisted with anger. She's lying, he shouted. This girl is trying to ruin my name. But I was still clutching the wrapper. I held it up, my hand shaking. This, this is Ijeoma's. I have found it by the old river. The crowd went silent. Then Ijeoma's brother stepped forward, his face dark with rage. Where is my sister? He demanded. Obinna didn't answer. He turned, ready to run, but the village men grabbed him before he could take a step. The next morning, the search party went to the old river, and when they came back, they brought Ijeoma's body with them. The whole village wept. The kind woman we all loved was gone, and the man who had promised to protect her had been the one to destroy her. Obinna was taken away, and the elders swore he would face justice. But for me, the hardest part was knowing that maybe, just maybe, if I had spoken up sooner, things might have been different. Sometimes, silence carries a heavy price. The village never really recovered from what happened. For weeks, there was a heavy sadness in the air. People spoke in whispers, and no one dared mention Obinna's name too loudly. Ijeoma's burial was one of the biggest the village had ever seen. Women cried openly, and the men stood with their heads bowed. Ijeoma's brother gave a speech, his voice thick with pain, asking why no one had spoken up sooner. And I felt the weight of those words. After the burial, life slowly went back to normal, or as normal as it could get. But things had changed. People started paying more attention to their neighbors. When a woman looked troubled, others asked questions. The silence that had cost Ijeoma her life started to break. As for me, I learned a lesson I would never forget. Speaking up takes courage, but staying quiet can cause more damage than we realize. One evening, months later, Mama Uche and I sat outside, peeling cassava like we always did. The air was calm, the sun setting in the distance. Nkem, she said suddenly, you did the right thing, you know. It didn't feel like it, I whispered. Not soon enough. She reached over and squeezed my hand. But you did it. And because of you, the truth came out. That matters. I nodded slowly, but the ache in my chest remained. Ijeoma's face still haunted my dreams sometimes. But I promised myself one thing. I would never stay silent again. Because sometimes one voice can make all the difference. The moral of the story is that silence can come at a heavy price. It emphasizes the importance of speaking up, especially when it comes to matters of injustice or harm. By staying quiet, one might unintentionally allow negative situations to worsen. However, having the courage to voice concerns and take action can make a significant difference and potentially prevent further harm. It also highlights the power of community support and the necessity of being attentive and caring towards those around us. In the end, the story teaches that a single voice can indeed make all the difference. We have come to the end of this story, guys. Please comment in the comment section what you've learned so far in this story. And if you are coming across my channel for the first time, please join us as we keep these timeless stories alive. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications bell so you never miss a new tale. Like, comment, and share this video. Thanks.